I asked an AI bot to show me what Jesus actually looked like, and I'm going to share that odd and amazing experience with you right after this.
More to the Story, a show that explores what's happening in the world from a Christian perspective. Subscribe on the platform where you're enjoying the show, or go to freegrace.in to subscribe for email notifications of our releases.
Now, before we jump into what Jesus looked like and sounded like, I need to give you a quick tour of the kinds of tools we're going to be using in this video. This is me.
For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son.
It's me saying John 3:16. But it isn't really me, is it? I mean, this is me. That's something else. And if you look close, there are digital hints that it is actually artificial. I mean, the weird way that the hat moves, the strange blurring around the mouth, there are clues. So technically, that's a photo I snapped a little while ago. I ran it through an AI bot that can make it talk. And just to prove that it's not really me, let's make it do something that I can't do.
כי התבורה נתונה ביד משה, וחסד ואמת ממקור ישוע המשיח יצאו.
Okay, so you get the point. Now, what if I wanted to get an idea of what Jesus actually looked like and maybe sounded like? It's not surprising that if you put the word Jesus into an image-generating AI bot, this is the kind of thing that you get. Good-looking guy, right? I mean, kind of too good-looking, if you ask me. I mean, if this guy was real and I met him in, like, say, a coffee shop, I wouldn't be able to make eye contact. Eyes that are those piercing blue pools of depth and wisdom. Also, he could have like a night gig as a hair model. Just, I don't know, something doesn't feel right. It doesn't fit the reality, and I think we all kind of know it, right? So I can confidently say that in the Roman world where Jesus lived, basically no one looked like this. If this guy showed up all clean, perfect hair, well-fed, with perfect complexion, people probably would have thought he was an angel. I mean, he's just too much. What could we change to get a little closer to what Jesus really looked like? Well, I started to change the input for the AI bot I was using to try and find out. Instead of just telling the AI to show me Jesus, instead I began to describe what a first century man from a fishing village might appear as. So first, sorry, but that hair. I mean, it's great for a romance book cover, but it's so impractical for a fisherman. And that's not to mention that the first depictions of Jesus in historical art had his hair short. Also, short hair was favored and even encouraged by Jesus' apostles in the New Testament, so it makes sense that a shorter crop would have been the dude that did the job, so to speak. Okay, so it's better, but he's supposed to be a Middle Easterner, right? So I don't think the blue eyes are going to work. Let's swap those out. Okay, that's a little better, but still his skin is so white, right? I mean, Jesus wasn't white. You know that, right? Jesus wasn't white. I mean, he wasn't white ethnically, but also people of his time were basically outside under the sun all the time, so his skin would be a pretty dark complexion. And for that matter, his features would be much more Eastern Mediterranean. And in addition, he would look older than the modern 33-year-old. And that's because we spend a lot of time inside, not under the sun. But being constantly sun-baked has that effect on your epidermis. So, okay, that feels more accurate. I think we're getting there, but we're still not quite there yet. Now, I know this might be a bit of a shock, but balding among Jewish men has a tendency to set in a little younger than some other ethnic populations. It's researched. You can look it up. So I'm not saying that Jesus was bald for sure, but by 33, it's reasonable to think that Jesus might have had some male pattern baldness setting in. Now, here's the kicker, and I know this is going to be difficult for some of you guys to see, but let's just pause the video and let's have him smile. Okay. Yeah, so look at those great teeth. I mean, those are great teeth even in the modern world. And I hate to do it, but those aren't pre-dentistry, ancient agrarian culture teeth. That's just not how they looked. So this would probably be more accurate to a first century mouth. Let's talk about Jesus' voice. In the movies, he always has this thick, buttery British accent. To give you an example, let's go back to hair model Jesus we had at the beginning to see what that might have sounded like.
For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him
Beautiful,
shall
right? I mean, I love it. I love a good British accent. But now, let's try to get something a little closer to reality.
כי התבורה נתונה ביד משה, וחסד ואמת ממקור ישוע המשיח יצאו.
Okay, I think that's pretty good. There's a point to all this. Did you know that there is actually a verse that talks about Jesus' appearance? Isaiah said, from God's perspective, talking about Jesus, "My servant grew up in the Lord's presence like a tender green shoot, like a root in dry ground." Notice this part. He says, "There was nothing beautiful or majestic about his appearance, nothing to attract us to him. He was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with deepest grief." The Apostle Paul once wrote, Jesus was in very nature God, but did not consider equality with God something to be used in his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. So when Jesus arrived, he had abandoned his godly appearance, and he looked like an average man of that age. So I have a question for you. Would you have believed in Jesus if he appeared in this form? If he looked like this? A few years ago, a man accused me of only believing in Jesus because I thought, supposedly, that Jesus was a white man. I had to correct him. I said something like the following. I said, Jesus wasn't white. He was a dark-skinned Middle Easterner. But he could be purple for all I care. I don't believe in Jesus because of his skin color. I've believed in him, and I follow him now because I'm convinced he was the Son of God, the one who gives eternal life to those who believe in him. You see, everyone has a different mental image of Jesus, but I hope that we can keep the main thing the main thing. Jesus offers you and me eternal life the moment we believe in him for that free gift. We don't believe in him for appearances. We believe in him because he proved by his resurrection that he can give us everlasting life with him. Have you believed in him for that free gift? I hope so. I'll let our digitally generated Jesus wrap this one up. Thanks for watching.
For God so loved the world that he gave his one and the only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life.